Wave to the end.
Hello, JD.
This is the distinguished Ward of League crew here.
How are you?
Why, take turns saying something to my father. Gene, you can start. Be nice. Mr. D?
Hello, Lou. How you, buddy?
What?
Nice to be here.
Good luck, Lou. Have a good retirement. You'll hear from me later.
This is like a vision. You got the light right behind your head. It's like
I'm on the program, Lou. You're going to hear from me later. Louis, you can spend more time in Florida next year.
All the best, Lou. Good being with you.
thank you.
I say, Jake.
How about the Notre Dame alma mater now?
Yeah, here we go. All right, I'm done for the day. Another one of those weekends kill me.
Well, I say you just go ahead and
Something different. Don with Diane.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to get near him, just in case, right? Right, Carol?
And stay away from his mother, too.
Wow, you never had chicken pox?
Yeah.
Oh.
John, would you put that camera in the other direction?
Johnny.
everything for you. Known you a good number of years. It's always been a real pleasure to work with you, to lunch with you, and I hope to see you after you retire.
I'm not going to say much because, Lou, I'm going to be seeing you every month at least once for lunch. That's all I got to say.
Well, it's been a lot of fun working with Poppa.
Right on knowing you, Lou. Sure appreciate it. Hope you have a wonderful retirement.
Nice working with you and have a good time.
Wish you best, Lou. Sober up.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun working with you. I won't be missing you because I'll be seeing you every Sunday at church. You take care now.
Hi, Lou. Mal, you got to look that way, Mal.
More? Is that
Our life, just take it easy and enjoy.
Good luck, Lou. We enjoyed having you around, and we'll see you again in the near future. Hang in there and give them your best shot. Down at the Cocos, especially.
Best of luck, Lou.
Hi, Lou. Best of luck, Lou.
You don't know about that, you should try.
Good luck to you, Lou.
Come on, I'm sick of doing it. All the best to you, Lou. All the best. Good luck, man.
Good night, Jump Joy.
Sure.
Good.
Art? Say hello to Lou.
Hello, Lou. all the best, and it's good.
Lou, you the very best of luck in the future, and we enjoyed having you working with us for the years.
Lou, good luck in your retirement. I'm going to miss you on our travels. Keep traveling.
Hey, Lou, you're retiring early. So you're going to work to 70. What happened?
Got all the soon casting straightened out, but had little problems with some shrouds.
Made by somebody else.
Lou, you're the best quality guy I ever worked with.
It's never been the same. Water will leak with love. Good luck, Lou. Enjoy your retirement.
Yeah, see you in church.
Lou, take me with you, please.
Hey, Lou, you want to switch places? Come in and fill in my desk for me. Good luck.
So I wish you congratulations on your retirement. Hope that you really enjoy it.
Best wishes and good health, and I hope you enjoy your retirement.
I'll add to that as well, Lou. It's been nice working with you, and know we'll see a lot of you in the future. Lou, really looking forward to going to Europe with you in the last 2 weeks of your working career.
Hope to see you if you ever come to Greenville. Hi, Lou. Was I supposed to say something?
Even you.
Yeah, happy retirement.
Lou, I wish I were going to Europe with you for a couple of weeks, but I can't, so best luck in everything you do.
Have a long and happy retirement.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Lou, and I'll pass the wishes on from Terry Ullman, too. You probably remember him. Good luck, Lou. Best regards.
Lou, never slow down. Just keep going, okay? It's been a real pleasure to know you.
Enjoy your retirement.
Best wishes.
Lou, I thought your little black book had something to do with business. It turned out it was just restaurants.
It was a pleasure working with you, Lou. We had a great time. Thanks a lot.
Lou, have a happy retirement. Thanks for all the help.
Best of luck, Lou. You and I go back for many years, back in the Capitol days, and I'm sure we'll remain in touch even though you're now leaving. Good luck again.
Best of luck to you, Lou. We'll be seeing you around.
Well, you can be sure I'll be calling you quite a bit to find out about some of the castings you've made. Best of luck in your retirement.
You should live so long.
Party. Bye.
It says, "Dear Lou, this is for a happy flight and retirement. Love, Stacy, Rob, John, Delora." Very nice. Stacy?
Okay, well, we wish him a lot of luck.
Good luck to you, Lou, and all the endeavors that I know you'll be associated with from now on.
I bet I'm the only one here that knew Lou in 1949. We graduated from RPI together.
Hey, 49. We should have been.
We were just trying to figure out when he was
Yeah,
graduated.
49. June 49. So I knew Lou 4 years there and off and on again. And then since then, I wish him a lot of luck.
Lou, very good luck to you.
I knew about materials. Thank you.
Best of luck to you in your retirement, Lou, and good health.
It's been a long time coming, Lou. Congratulations.
Lou, good luck on your retirement.
Lou, with all your money, you still should adopt me.
All the best, Lou. I'm pleased to be here. Come over from England to enjoy your retirement.
Lou, from one Water League boy to another, good luck and keep the politics going there.
Lou, best of luck in your retirement.
Enjoy.
Good luck, Lou, and thanks for the nap.
Spent too much time in Europe this year. Okay, enjoy yourself.
Okay.
Lou, it's been swell. Take care.
Louie, I hope you're not mad at me, but if you are, it's too bad. Love you.
It's been nice knowing you, Lou.
Lou, good to know you. Have a happy retirement.
From everybody in Greenville, and thank you for all your help.
Congratulations, Lou. Happy retirement.
Lou, keep up the greens and beans. Remember, Wednesday's the only day. Take care, good luck. They'll have them all day.
And so we don't want to have you get back to work too late. Although I did talk to Don Jennis today, and he said that the folks in the sourcing operation, who are the ones that are most concerned, I believe, would be forgiven for this. If they were punished, they wouldn't know it. Again, I'd like to welcome you all. It's a pleasure to have such a great turnout. For Lou, this isn't really a retirement party because he hates retirement parties, so we're making this his 33rd anniversary with the General Electric Company. It's not going to be a roast because Lou does not like roasts. So in the interest of the fact that not only does he not like roasts, but also he's, as you know, for various reasons, on a low cholesterol diet, we're going to keep this to a broil. Okay, I'd like first to introduce the head table very briefly. You'll hear from most of them later, so I won't go into titles or backgrounds or what have you, but starting at the far end, I'm just going to name them and go through quickly. Don Brandt, who's with Turbine Operation, John Patterson, Peg Lordy, Dick Lordy, Edna Denuzzo, of course, Lou, the guest of honor, my wife Marion, Mary O'Brien, Leo O'Brien, and Pete Schilke. More important, I would like to introduce the family. Lou's family is almost all here. He has a rather large family, number of grandchildren. Unfortunately, a few couldn't be here. But if I could go around the table, I would like to introduce first Diane Cornell. I'm sorry, is that right, Cornell? Yes, I do have it right. I'm sorry. Diane Cornell. Unfortunately, her husband is with their two children, two of the grandchildren in Glens Falls, so he couldn't make it. And then John Denuzzo, Lou's son, his son Robbie, John's wife Carol, Lou's daughter Diane LaRock. What did I say? I'm sorry, that's Diane. Karen LaRock. Forgive me, I'm trying to do it from memory. I should be looking at my notes. And her husband, Don LaRock, Jr. Welcome. We also have, very quickly, a number of visitors from out of town, and I just thought I'd recognize that. We have from the suppliers, and you will hear from a couple of those, we have Mary Glass from C3F, New Jersey office. We have Jim Wisniewski, who represents himself, High Tech Forge, from Houston. We also have Brian Phillips, the managing director of C.W. Taylor in Newcastle, England, and Jim Squadair, who is with L&D Associate representing them. We have also with us representatives and friends of Lou's from Capel, retirees from Capel, retirees from Mayo, retirees from Turbine. I can't go into all the names. And of course, people from the turbine sourcing operation. And last but not least, people from the turbine engineering and turbine manufacturing operation. Have I missed anyone? I hope not. Okay, welcome again. To get out of the program, I'd like first to introduce a fellow who will review a little bit of Dick's career, but before I let him get up, I'm sorry, Lou's career, but before I let him get up, I want to admonish all of the speakers to try to keep it brief. We have a big program. We do have people who have to get back to work, and I'm reminded of the fact that about a week ago I was at a commencement exercise at University of Massachusetts, and Governor Cuomo was the main speaker, and he told a little anecdote. He had been asked to be a main speaker at another commencement exercise years ago, so he went to one of his mentors at St. John's College, who was an older gentleman who was the president at the time, asked him his advice on what to say and what to do and how long should the speech be, and the mentor, being a good Irish priest, said, well, treat it this way, Mario. Treat it like you're the body at an Irish wake. You're necessary to be there for the party, but you aren't necessarily asked to talk too much. So with that, first, I'd like to have Dick Lordy come up and say a few words about Lou's career.
Yes, I'm prepared as I am. I had to get some lowdown on Louis. You all know how he keeps his notes, so I stole these. Well, Mike didn't have to remind me not to roast Lou, because how can you roast a guy that takes you out for lunch on your birthday every year, remembers your wife's anniversary, your kid's birthday, and whatnot? He has an amazing memory, and anyone that's that kind doesn't deserve a roasting. I probably have worked on and off with Lou longer than most people that he knows. I'm sure that's somewhat to his regret, maybe. But I remember when they hired him in the GE, and I remember the first thing I said to my boss, I said, "Gee, what are you doing hiring an old guy like him, 34 years old?" And here I retired before he did. There must be a message there. Well, after not a short stay in the U.S. Army Air Corps, for those that remember the U.S. Army Air Corps that kept the Marines alive, around the Pacific mainly, Lou came back and went to RPI, and then spent a short time at Bear Manning, then came back to GE where he had worked before he went in the Army. And he started at GE as, before he came to GE, he spent some time in Watervliet Arsenal, where he got into some of the very early work that is dear to our heart, and that's some of the early development work in investment casting. They had quite an operation down there. And, we used to get invited down there from GE, and that's where a lot of us got to know Lou. And we thought it might be good for us if we got him up to GE so he could make us look good. He came to GE in March 10th, 1954. I remember that because that was the date my son was born. And so maybe it really isn't too much of a feat that he remembers that. But he continued on with his work in investment casting and made some very significant accomplishments at that time, not only in bringing some of the techniques that he had developed at the Watervliet Arsenal, but it was about that time that GE went into the precision cast jet engine bucket, and he was very instrumental. Both of us worked together in the J79 bucket. And in fact, we made the first vacuum cast J79 bucket that was ever made. I remember that because we used to work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, and we go up at night in Utica Drop Forge, which is now Special Metals, and we vacuum cast these molds that we carted up in a car, and we came back down, and I don't know, we got very little sleep. We were both ready for a different operation in Utica than Special or Utica Drop Forge. And I'll never will forget it because we were well rewarded for our efforts. We got taken out to the Old Van Curler Hotel by our boss Al Blake, and he gave us a mutually shared management award. He split right down the middle. In those days, it amounted to about a couple $100 a piece or something, or 150, I don't know, but the thought was there, and I was very proud to be a part of that with Lou. Now, while in the foundry department, Lou also was very instrumental in the development of the resin shell molding technique. And the thing I remember most about that is what he taught me, and he taught a lot of people, is he picked up from the welding people and learned how to develop the casting compositions that wouldn't crack by using the Scheffler diagram. I think Lou was the first one who ever did that, and I've used that many times since then. A little anecdote of back in those days in the foundry, some may remember back in the, I guess it was in the 50s, there was this big scandal in this country over payola. And that's when vendors gave you a present. You know, ever since then we have to sign our life away every year saying we don't do it. And some don't, I guess. I guess it's just a matter of degree. Anyway, it was just a dirty word. You didn't even go to dinner with these guys. And one day I got a call, either Lou or I got a call from some guy in Building 50. That was a receiving place downstairs at Building 50. And this guy said, you and Mr. Denuzzo, come on down here. We have got something, a vendor's present for you. It sounded really like a shady deal. So we went down, looked this guy up. He says, follow me. We go down the middle of Building 50, up the stairway, and there's this big steel door. And he unlocks his padlock on it. He says, this is a loot room. Going like this, and Lou's saying, hey, we finally hit it, Dick. We're going to get something good. You know, we go in there, and believe it or not, there was such a place. They had to come in, had to be delivered. And what we saw in that room were cases of liquor, suitcases, boxes obviously containing fur coats. Evidently, these were real practices back in those days. I said, Lou, we're going to make it now. We're going to make it. And so out this guy came with 2 little boxes. So Lou says, don't worry, Dick. Best things come in small boxes. So we opened them up, and there were a couple of thermometers. So we really never made it in payola. Well, then Lou left the foundry department, left me stranded there for a while, and he went on to Capel a little before I did. And next time I ran into him, he called me up one day. They were having trouble, I guess they were converting to Inconel out there. And Joe Van Allen was, he's over here in the audience somewhere, and he took advantage of Lou's background developing cast Inconel, big cast Inconel. That's, I think, the first time Lou ran into the fact that nickel-based alloys are not easy to cast, and we've been finding that out ever since. And Lou made a lot of contributions in that area, and worked on a number of projects out there, including the D1G destroyer and the S5G submarine and the NR1. I'd rather fight than quit, or something like that. When Boyko wanted to change from Inconel back to stainless steel, he got up and wrote on the board, I'd rather fight than switch. That was, I'll never forget that. And then I was there at that time. I came up a couple of years later to Capel, and then Lou left again to go to Mayo and work with Roland Savage, and I didn't know what he did down there, except probably much of the same thing. But then when I came back to gas turbine, it was pretty obvious that we could use Lou there because of the investment casting work and the sand casting work. So we managed to get him talking into coming over there, and he has really done a fine job, not only technically in many areas besides casting, but particularly in the castings. All about 5 years before I left, he finally walked into my office. He says, look, why don't we cut out all this nonsense and just give me all the castings to do, and I'll do it, and you won't have to worry about it anymore. So I said, gee, that's a deal I can't turn down. So we took everyone off the castings and gave it all to Lou, and that's what he's done. And Lou really brought to that some attributes that he brought to many things he worked on. He made it look easy. He made it look easy, and he brought a not only strong technical background to it, but a very high degree of practicality to some of our problems. And he had a fantastic way of separating the meat from the garbage. And I think that's been a good thing for the gas turbine division, in that we avoided a lot of problems that were non-problems in the first place. He had a good way of sorting those out. But in addition to that, he had another unique attribute, which I think is something that you have to see it to believe it, but Lou is a real diplomat, particularly, he's not as much a diplomat inside the office where you have to work with him because he makes you stand up and toe the line. But on the outside, there's no one smoother and more of a diplomat than Lou with some of the suppliers. He's understanding of their problems as well as knowledgeable about ours. And I think any supplier in this room would agree that because of people like Lou that made the job go as smoothly as it has. I mean, it could have been a lot rougher. And he taught me some of that, and I really appreciate that side of Lou. And it just goes so well with his understanding of people and of his compassion for people. And I'll never forget him because he's one of the kindest, nicest people I've ever met. With that, I'm going to sit down before I have to pull out my handkerchief. Lou, I want to wish you luck in your retirement. You better get the heck out of there. I see you there more than me. And, come on out, I'll give you a fishbowl.
Thanks, Dick. Before I go on, there are a couple of things I did overlook. No matter how good your notes, you don't always read them, except for Lou Januzzo. He's got fantastic notes and always knew exactly how to read them. But I overlooked, because she wasn't sitting at the table, Lou's granddaughter, Lauren. She's here with us with her mother, Karen. And the other folks that I did neglect to mention, there is a contingent here from the city of Watervliet, the Italian-Irish Mafia Democrats. Welcome, fellas. We're glad you made it, which is apropos mentioning them now because I'm about to introduce the next speaker, who is, again, an old friend, an old associate of Lou's in the political area. As you know, Lou has been active in Democratic politics in the city of Watervliet and to some extent in Albany County for a number of years. And with us today we have the mayor of Watervliet, who is also the Albany County Democratic chairman, Mayor Leo J. O'Brien, who will make a presentation to Lou also. Leo.
Thank you very much, Mike. It's quite an honor to be here today. It isn't often that I get the chance to say anything nice about Lou. I was listening to Dick, and Dick made comments about Lou's notes. Well, let me tell you something. I sit next to him at a council meeting. I think Lou started on the council in 1975. He has the notes from 1975. He has them in front of him every week, and they keep growing. And if you were to say back, we'll say 2 years ago, that you made some kind of a comment, Lou would tell you whether you were right or wrong. To get through your notes, he'd tell you exactly what you said. You know, I'm sitting here today thinking might be a great loss for GE, but I think the city of Watervliet is the winner. We're going to have more time with Lou. Lou's going to be able to spend more time with the city, and we're looking forward to that. Of course, Lou and I have been on the council now for a good many years, and he's been kind of my sidekick. No matter where we go, I always have Lou alongside of me. He's a great one to have there. Comments made about Lou's not the easiest guy to get along with. All right? He's great with people in the open. But let me tell you something. If you're wrong, you're going to know about it. And we find that out at our executive session very often. And we appreciate that. Lou, I'd like to, I'm cut on time too, but I'd like to take a minute now to read an official proclamation from the office of the mayor of the city of Watervliet. Whereas the city of Watervliet is aware of the retirement of Louis J. Danuzzo from his position as a trusted and prestigious employee of the General Electric Company. And whereas for years Louis J. Danuzzo has served as a member of the city council of this city, and whereas his service has been evidenced by exceptional sacrifice and devotion to the welfare of our community, and whereas his personal morbidity and talents have contributed in large measure to the improvement and growth of the city of Watervliet in recent years. And whereas we who have enjoyed the benefit of association with Lou and his endeavors are proud of his accomplishments. And now therefore be it resolved that I, J. Leo O'Brien, Mayor of the City of Watervliet, New York, on behalf of the grateful community, extend to Louis J. Danuzzo our congratulations upon his retirement from the General Electric Company and express the hope that the City of Watervliet is enjoy his active participation in its affairs for many years to come. I also have here from the State of New York, Executive Chamber, Albany, New York, Certificate of Merit presented to Louis Denuzzo for 33 years of dedicated service to the General Electric Company, awarded this 22nd day of May 1987, Mario M. Como, Governor of the State of New York. Now I have one here from the joint session. It's a joint resolution from the Senate and the Assembly. And this particular resolution came from the Assembly, or from the Senate. And I being a Democrat, and the Senate being Republican, I think they done me in because if I were to read this entire resolution, we'd be here all afternoon. But Lou, it says all very, very nice things about you and your family. And it's signed by Howard Nolan, Senator Howard Nolan, and Assemblyman Michael McNulty, who jointly sponsored it, and from Stephen Sloan, Secretary of the New York State Senate. And I'd like to present that to you. At this time, I'd also like to thank Edna and his family for being so supportive of Lou and his endeavors on Watervliet. And we wish you the very best in your retirement. And I know, Lou, you're never going to retire. You're like me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Leo. Next, as you know, Lou and some of the others in the technical organizations spent a great deal of their time working with sourcing operations people in the gas turbine department at that time, and more recently in the turbine operation. So representing the sourcing organization, Jack Foley has something he wants to say. Jack.
Edna, Lou, on behalf of the turbine sourcing operation, I personally would like to extend a thank you to Lou Denuzzo for the support, dedication, and the colleague that he has been, supportive of all the work that we've done around the world. And Lou, you're going to find out that the airline guide, which is about the thickness of the Capital District telephone directory, has now gone down to about the size of the GE phone directory, since they heard that you were going to be retiring. I must say that Lou is really a fine fellow to work with, a very dedicated guy. And I think more on a personal front, most of you who know him would share that he is also a very generous guy. He's always reaching in his pocket to buy the Girl Scout cookies, to buy the drink at the bar, to do the many things that some of us overlook. And I just want to say, Lou, it's been a pleasure. It really has. You're a great guy, and we certainly are going to miss you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Next, again, you've heard a little bit about Lou's career from Dick, and you know that, of course, much of his time was spent working with not only the sourcing people, the procurement people, if you will, but also the suppliers themselves. And you heard me earlier mention that a number were with us. And next on the program, I would like to introduce the managing director of one of the foundries with which we have been heavily involved over perhaps 10 or 12 years. And Lou, in recent years, probably the last 8 of those 12, has spent a great deal of time with these people, working with them to get the product in. And we're very fortunate that the managing director of the C.W. Taylor Foundries in Newcastle, England, was able to be with us here today. So I'd like to introduce him now, Brian Phillips. Brian?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I speak with an English accent and can only say I'm sorry I haven't brought an interpreter. I have only known Lou just over a year, and I must say it's been a distinct privilege to have known him. I'd like to pass on the best wishes from Chris Nichols, who is our chairman, used to be managing director, Peter Jackson, John Moore, and all the other people with whom Lou has been associated. However, there's one person who is employed by Taylors, whom we regard as being C.W. Taylor, and apart from being my secretary, she's also looks after everybody else like a mother hen, and her name is Linda, and I think anybody who's been to Taylors knows all about Linda. Now, as I say, she is my secretary. One thing I didn't know that she did was that she wrote poems. And before I came over today, she asked me if I could just read this little poem to Lou, which I think really sums up everything about him. Retirement Day, the 3rd of June. Who would have guessed it would have come so soon? Over 40 years you've travelled around. Now it's time to relax and slow things down. For more than 10 years you have been coming to see the friends you have made at Taylor's Foundry. When your name it was mentioned, the whole place shook. Lou's coming across with his little black book. The meetings would start around about 10. Out came the book, together with pen. Words were exchanged, decisions took. Everything went down in that little black book. He would go back years to the time and the day. Who said what and what did they say? It was useless arguing, you couldn't dispute. It was in black and white in the little black book. He was always honest, his decisions were true. If he thought he was wrong, he'd admit that too. Inlets or housings, no matter what. If he thought they were 40, he'd scrap the lot. They had to be right. That's the name of the game. That's why perfection was his middle name. By the people at Taylor's, he'll be missed as a friend, someone on whom they could always depend. This retirement you've earned, Lou, so take a long rest. Because, Lou Denuzzo, you're one of the best.
Thank you, Brian. Any of us who knows Linda have always been impressed by her total capability, but again, as Brian said, one never knows just how much this girl can do. She's really remarkable. That's a remarkable poem. Next, a gentleman who also represents suppliers, a number of suppliers, in fact, to Turbine, and who is located locally. He's with L&D Associates, here located in Latham, and a graduate of What's the Matter You, Jim Squadair.
Well, I'd like to thank you all for being here today and letting me make this very short speech. Unaccustomed to public speaking that I am. I brought some small notes that reminded me of Lou, and I thought maybe we would start from one end back in 1940 and go through all of the many things that Lou had done. That doesn't work. Okay, the next thing I'd like to do is I've been at a lot of your retirement parties, and I have seen a lot of your faces, and most of you know me. I'm a manufacturer's representative. I don't have a company, but you do. And I thought I'd just give a little synopsis of what I've seen with the General Electric in relation to a company-supplier relationship. And I thought I'd like to represent the suppliers. If I get thrown out of here today, they didn't ask me to do it, I did this myself. You have four main categories. You have the boss who speaks and gives his little remembrance. Then you have a co-worker like Mike who comes up with a little something. Then you go to a related group like the power sourcing or used to be purchasing when I was thinner. And then naturally at the end you have the general manager or a vice president who gives a speech. And they say a few things. Well, looking at my notes here, we've had the boss speak, and he stands and he says, I remember when Lou first joined us. He was aggressive, he was young, he was interesting, he had an attitude, and he was out to help GE and the company and do what's right. I remember the first day. Then you get the supplier, us. We remember Lou too. The first thing he said was, that material's not right. You didn't pass first piece qualification. You got to start all over again. And it goes on, and you go into the co-worker like Mike, and he comes up, he's got an onion in his pocket because he's got to get the tears in his eyes. And he stands there, and he rubs a little bit, and he says, yes, I remember. All the times in the airports early in the morning, late at night, in the afternoons, and the weekends for the sacrifice of the company, running from the plane, running down, him and I, in the car, running to the foundry, going in, staying there till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and getting the job done. And I ain't got the supplier. We ran too, running through the QC department. Here comes the Italians. Here they come. Get out the books. We're ready to go. Get all the dirty magazines off the desk. Get every piece of film we got. Get out PGAQ 1 through 4,000. Make sure there's no pages missed. Get it all set up. And by the way, none of you are leaving here until we satisfy them and get them the hell out of this plant. Okay, now we have the other side, which I said 20 years ago, which I've known Lou for, at least. In fact, I think if we go back, our families hang off the same tree someplace. We go back into the sourcing, purchasing group. And Jack was just up here. Jack's a hell of a guy. Jack comes up and gives all his stuff. But usually they tell a story. I remember Lou. All the traveling and all the places we went and the things we did and the places. And he was a heck of a man that did what was right for GE. And then at night, we'd go out with the supplier and we'd have a little cocktail and sit at a bar in a lounge and try and show a relationship. And all of a sudden, every now and then, I remember the time the little Dolly came over and sat next to Lou and started talking to him. And boy, then Lou was on stage and all the suppliers were sitting there taking a look and everybody's going, oh yeah, well, let's go to the supplier. We'd sit there and whisper to each other, he ain't gonna touch that. There's no possible way. She didn't pass first piece qualification. Nobody's seen any microstructures on her. And she ain't carrying a copy of the latest revision for PGA 147. So we knew that wasn't going to happen. And then finally, as all of the, I hope I'm not taking too much time. Finally, we get to the general manager. This is what's going to get me thrown out of here. You got two types of general managers, okay? You got one who could be a senior manager in the group or division, or a general manager of that local organization who has truly been with Lou for 20 years. And he will come up to the mic and he'll stand there like they always do, and he takes his glasses off and he stares. And he goes, Lou, after all these years, I'm personally going to miss you. Then, if the guy is really high up in the organization, they fly in the big gun, the senior general manager from a division or a corporate headquarters or a big VP, and they always come up to the podium and they stand with their hands in their pocket, They stare at the ceiling and they say, after all these years, I'm personally going to miss you, Lou. But they both have the same result. They got to get their politics in about we're growing. We've had many organizational changes. We got new people, new attitudes. This is the 80s. We're going to get it together. We're going to make money. And after all these years, all these new people taking over, I don't know how we're going to replace them because there'll never be another Lou supplier. This has all happened. I met the new people. I just talked with them. You know what they said to me? That material ain't right. You didn't pass first piece qualifications. You're going to start all over again. Well, that's a little synopsis on the GE or corporate people that I've been with onto retirements. I have a letter here, Lou, from Mr. Bob Russell for North British Steel, who I also represent. And after the meeting, if anybody wants to buy castings, forgings, fabrications, machines, certainly available. At any rate, the letter goes on to say, on behalf of many friends from North British, we wish you a happy and healthy retirement. We will all miss your visits to the works, and nevertheless hope that you will we'll see you socially in Schenectady during their next meetings. Personally, I'm sorry and disappointed that they couldn't be here today, but deep regards from everybody at North British. And we have a little present for you over there in the corner, which you can look at later. And if I can go back to my table, Mr. Patterson, that would be fine if you want me to go on. Anything else to say? Thank you very much.
I don't know, with all that insight, are you sure you weren't a general manager at GE at one time? That might be called, since he represents so many English companies, that might have been called a little bit of a London broil, Lou. Okay, next on the program, again, a gentleman representing one of the suppliers with whom Lou had a strong interaction for many, many years, probably the better part of 10, 12 at least, that I can remember. He's here with us today. I didn't introduce him earlier because I knew I'd be introducing him on the program. He actually is a resident representative for Howmet at the GE Turbine Department, and I'd like now to introduce Bob Gamble. Bob.
Hello, family and friends. Howmet feels this is about the third retirement party we had for Lou, okay? We appreciate all his experience and help, and we wish you people would keep in touch with him, because that's one of the things that he feels bad about, that we just say goodbye and don't much have contact with him again. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Next on the program, a young lady who has been one of the major contributors in putting all of this situation together here today, and she also has a little presentation to make to Lou. I'd like to introduce Cindy Eglin. Cindy.
Before I say anything, Lou, I wave my white flag.
Read it. What's it say?
I think Lou knows what I'm talking about. He had asked me last year when I was organizing a party for Mike and Dick. I don't want a party. And I said, okay. And then I got a phone call from his daughter Karen about a month and a half ago. And I told her again that he didn't want a party, and she said she would be responsible. And I don't know if she brought her peace offering, but I did.
Help.
By the way, I was up until 1 a.m. doing this little dance. popcorn for Lou usually every morning around 10, so this will carry you through possibly a couple of months. Love you, Lou.
What Cindy is also presenting to Lou, besides the popcorn, is a scrapbook which she has started for him with a great deal, number of photographs and what have you, memoirs, and I think, Lou, that there are going to be more added to that after this. Okay, next, moving right along as quickly as we can, I'd like to introduce someone who, of course, is going to represent the family. It's really, as I said earlier, fortunate that we do have Lou's family with us. And now I'd like to introduce Lou's son, John, who I think has something to say about your old dad. John?
Thank you, Mike, and good afternoon. I, too, will not take much of your time, but offer a few reminiscences from the perspective of his children, of which I am, believe it or not, the youngest. My sisters, although they don't look it, are older than I am. As you could note by the fact that I'm up here and they're not, it's just like childhood where, something would have to be done and Diane would say, well, I'm not going to do it. Ask Karen to do it. And Karen would say, well, I'm not going to do it. Have John do it. And I'd turn around and nobody was there. So the same thing happened today. It's incredible. We don't know most of you here. And so your perspective on our father is unique to us and very fascinating to us. But there's so much that's the same. His memory, his mental notes, if not the written notes that he takes. You can imagine what it must have been like being about 12 or 14 or 16 years old, coming home late at night, at midnight when you're supposed to be home at 11, and try and tell him that he said you could stay out till midnight, right? It didn't wash. It didn't wash. But it's moving to us today, as well as to my parents, because in talking about this program today, my sisters and I did some reminiscing of our own. And my father has been with the company for 33 years, I believe you said. And with that 33 years, we have all been clothed and fed and educated, courtesy of GE. We all have had GE transistors, refrigerators, washing machines, many of which my mother still curses to these days. So it's a big step for the entire family in addition to my father. And as much as he a lot of times cursed GE for what it deprived him of as far as spending more time with his family, his children and grandchildren, brothers and sisters and what have you. All in all, the GE experience has been a very good one for our family, and certainly the people he has worked with, he has always felt as part of his family as well. So we thank you for that. And we thank you for the kind words today. In listening to the presentations, they all hit very much close to home. And the gentleman from England, Brian, recalled to me something that we wrote in our letter to Dad, as I guess many of you did, kind of put down your thoughts into words for this occasion. And with us, being a history buff that I am on a very amateur basis, in preparing for today, I thought of what Churchill said right after England had survived the terrible bombings that Germany had inflicted around 1940. It was finally over and Britain had survived, and Churchill said, he said, well, this isn't the end because we still have a long war to fight. This isn't even the beginning because we have so much to do. It's not the beginning of the end for Germany. It's really just the end of the beginning for this whole thing. And we see Dad's graduation from GE into doing more public service and humanitarian kinds of things. I know he's anxious to get going on as the end of the beginning from GE into his new life. So we really look forward to him. We're immensely proud of him, and we could not have asked for better parents. So thank you for all your attention to him today, and thanks, Dad and Mom, for being so great to us.
said, John. Okay, now we get down to the management, which Jim Squadera was referring to. We have really here today, we're very fortunate because circumstances allowed that we have really all three of the managers with whom Lou has been so closely associated over the recent years with Gas Turbine. So first I'd like to introduce Don Brandt, who's the manager of the Gas Turbine Engineering and Development Operation. Don?
Thank you, Mike. And Lou, I'm really sorry to have ruined the plans because Cindy did her darndest to schedule your going away party for when I was going to be out of town. But I came back a day early and got her all bollocksed up, so here I am in spite of the best that she tried. I just had to say that, Cindy. I know that that's not true. Anyhow, I want to particularly address the grandchildren. As Lou knows, I'm a fan of grandchildren, including my own, as well as anybody else's. And those of you who haven't become grandparents yet don't know what you're missing. But my first recollection, okay, of Lou is when Dick Gordy came to me and said, Don, I've got a guy that this business desperately needs. Now, you all know Dick Lordy. Dick Lordy's the kind of guy, he's such an optimist. If he was at the bottom of a ditch, when it caved in on top of him, he'd look upon that as an opportunity to find worms to go fishing. So you got to take what Dick Lordy says with a grain of salt. Right? But Lou came in and Lou started working with us. And I want to tell you, as Lou's manager, right, one of the things that I grew to really appreciate about Lou was the value of having a subordinate that would look you in the eyeballs and tell you when you were wrong. Right? And tell you not just when you were wrong, but also tell you what you could do in order to improve and make the part right. He would not allow you as a manager to go down a primrose path that he thought was a pathway to destruction. And he always had a solution. And Lou, I appreciate that. You were always honest. Right? And you grandchildren can be very proud of your grandfather. He's a man of integrity. He's a man of honesty. He's a man of great technical skill. And he's given a lot of himself to his career. And you'd go a long ways to find somebody else that would make a better model for you to model your lives after than your grandfather, Lou. Lou, thanks a bunch for what you've given to me personally. Appreciate it.
Next, John Patterson, who is the general manager of the Turbine Technology Department. John?
Lou, I had a presentation to make today, but unfortunately it's been given already. Just for the record, you know, we heard some people talk about folks in GE accepting gifts and some remarks made about signing these things that said, I've never accepted a gift before and I promise never to do it again. I'm still in category 1, which is the employed people, and for the record, I have never accepted a gift and I don't intend to ever do it. You know, this is a unique opportunity for me because Lou being a metallurgist and a lot of metallurgists in the crowd here, it's just a fantastic fraternity. In the scientific community, I think metallurgists are very unique. They're the only scientists that I know that can develop an entire book on a given subject, including charts and families of curves, with only one data point. And Lou, along with his compadre there, Dick Lordy, has really helped us out in Gas Turbine doing that. I was thinking, in knowing Lou and knowing the detail that he goes into, Most of you know that Lou had some bypass heart surgery in Boston. Can you imagine Lou going in to register for admittance to the hospital? Hey, break out your first piece qualification plan, folks. I want to see it now. I want to sign up. Let's go through a pilot lot before we go into production. And then we're going to do a lot of non-destructive testing after we get through with the total procedure. Lou's been with Gas Turbine for 15 years and has been a super asset to the business and to me personally. I think that in addition to the general casting business, we got into investment castings on gas turbines, and it was one of the most smooth transitions that we've ever made from one process technology to another. I think it was so smooth that people didn't understand how difficult the problems were and some of the challenges, not only technical, but the witchcraft and superstition part of the business, which I don't mean in a critical way, but it takes a lot of experience and judgment to really make that transition a success. And I believe that Lou was one of the keys in making that happen. In recent years, we've taken our sourcing of gas turbine components offshore, and Lou has been a key driver in making sure that we had a good supplier-buyer relationship and making sure that the suppliers that we were working with were a success. And that takes a lot of hard work, a lot of creativity, a lot of people skills, an extremely professional man conducting the business. So, Lou, I just thank you for the business. I thank you for myself. And I wish you and Edna happy 33rd anniversary, not retirement.
Thank you, John. Finally, getting close to the end of the program, I'd like to introduce Lou's current manager who replaced Dick Lordy when he retired. He's currently the manager of Turbine Materials and Process Engineering and also has a presentation to make. Pete Schilke. Pete?
Thanks, Mike. I'd like to take this opportunity before we go on with Lou to thank Cindy for all the hard work and effort she's put into this program and pulling it together and making it a success. Now, you know, Lou, it sort of came as a shock to me when you decided to retire, because I thought you had intended to retire at age 75 and continue with your political ambitions as a part-time career. And I guess as I look back on it, probably, maybe it had something to do with the fact that Gary Hart ran into trouble. I don't know. But seriously, Lou, I think just about everything has been said, and all of it positive about you. I'm going to miss you. I appreciate the way you've always handled your activities in a very gentlemanly fashion. You've been a great source of technical strength to us, and we're all going to miss you. Now, I think that I have the honor and privilege of being able to present you with a gift from all of your friends here that represent their sentiments to you.
Tie clasp. Hold it up. It's a pocket watch.
Lou, again, thanks very much.
Before I let the broiled one get up and say his final words, I want to add my congratulations to those of the rest of the fellows here who have talked. Lou and I worked together for about the past 10 years. We had what I would call an outstanding relationship as two co-workers and as friends. I will miss the great amount of interaction I have with him day to day. Hopefully we'll keep some of that going. I miss most of all the fact that, as they said before, Lou would always tell you like it was. If he had something to tell you that he thought would help, that would be constructive, you always got it. And you got it straight from the shoulder, and that was immensely valuable to me in the days that we worked together. The other thing I'll miss Lou badly is the fact that he and I, if no one else was available, all else forgotten, he and I would go to lunch practically every day, and we had many, many interesting and fascinating discussions. Now, sir, it is your turn to get up here and rebut. Lou?
Okay, thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone. As you know from the little flag that Cindy gave me, that I really didn't want a retirement party, and there was really a very good reason for it, because really and truly, I retired, prior to my surgery when I found out that I had a medical problem, and in the 7 months that I was on medical leave, I was very, very fortunate. I really did not know, and maybe I didn't fully appreciate how many people were really interested in my welfare. You can't believe the number of get well cards that I got, almost 200, I guess, the numerous fruit baskets and the flowers that were sent to me, the telephone calls that I got, long distance calls from all over the United States, and phone calls from overseas. And I really truly feel that everyone really has done enough for me, in that 7-month period. So I really and truly felt that I got more recognition than I deserved. I'm very, very thankful. It's amazing for someone who never had a chest pain, who never had an angina attack, who never had high blood pressure, who never smoked. When you go in for what you consider to be a routine pre-retirement checkup, to find out that you have major medical problems. And they were really major. I had some very severe arterial blockage, in addition to carotid or neck arteries that were very badly blocked. And the doctor really couldn't understand why I had never had chest pains, or why I never had a stroke or a heart attack, as I was dashing around the world, running through airports and going up and down the stairs in the railroad stations, carrying my heavy luggage. And I guess I was just very, very fortunate. During my illness, I had the best of care. I was in 3 different hospitals, and they all did an excellent job, but none of them equal the care that I got from my family, especially my wife. You couldn't ask for a better nurse, and of course nobody could give you any more tender, loving care than your wife did. In addition to that, when I was in Boston recovering from surgery, my 2 daughters and my daughter-in-law and my son, one or more of them was with me and my wife all the time that I was out there. And of course, those that didn't come, my sons-in-law, who did not come out there, of course, they had to take care of the grandchildren. But it's really fantastic, the support that I got from my family. I'll be very honest with you. I had a lot of misgivings, and I really and truly, based on the reports that I got from the doctor prior to my surgery, I really had serious doubts as to whether I would survive the surgery, because the blockage was so severe, and there was so much blockage that I really thought that the problem was much worse than it turned out to be, I guess. But it's amazing, I think the thing that I'm most grateful for is that so many people told me before my surgery and subsequent to my surgery that they were remembering me in their prayers, and I'm sure the prayers, had a lot to do with it, because it was amazing to have surgery of that type and find out that you're on your feet walking around a day after the surgery, and you're out of the hospital a week after the surgery, and the recovery is very, very rapid after that. Another thing that I'm very, very grateful for is General Electric was really good to me during my my medical leave. No financial worries insofar as the medical coverage was concerned, but more importantly, my management, Mike Hoka, Dick Lordy, Don Brandt, and John Patterson really took care of me as far as the salary was concerned. It's one thing I never had to worry about while I was undergoing my surgery and recovering from my surgery. I never had to worry about the expenses of the surgery, and I never had to worry about my salary while I was on medical leave. And let me tell you, that gives you great peace of mind when you're in that sort of a situation. Now, Cindy gave me her little peace treaty sign here because she knows how badly or how much I wanted to avoid a retirement party, because I think that everybody has done so much for me in the past year that a retirement party would really be redundant. However, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to see so many of my friends gathered here at one time. It's like all the good things of my life are passing before me. I see my family, my friends from World of Elite, some people I worked with since my first day in General Electric Company, such as Dick Lordy. I have my friends here from Capel, Mayo, and from the various groups in General Electric Company, the M&P Lab, and gas turbine, and steam turbine, and whatever. I'm a very, very fortunate person. And I really and truly do thank you for showing up today, because, again, as I say, I really think that you've done more than enough for me in the 7 or 8 or 9 months that I first realized I had a medical problem. And God bless you all, and I just hope to see you again in the very, very near future. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Some of us who don't have to rush back will be probably staying around for a little while to talk with Lou, so you're welcome to stay if you can.
Don't rub it in, Mike.
Sorry, Jim.
How you doing, Mike? Good to see you. Very well done. Nice.
Very good, Mike. Okay, super. Brian, what do you say? How you doing? You busy? I'll try if you want. Okay, man. Good to see you.
Mike, thanks very much.
You always like.
Yeah. Oh, better
Yes. Okay, yeah, we'll be around. Okay. Eddie, hang in there. See you soon. See you around.
Oh, you're gonna be around.
Yeah. Are you leaving? You gonna be around? Oh, okay. And thank you again.
Thanks very much.
I'm going to get mine too. Thank you. You did a lovely job. Thank you.
Good. Well, I wish you good.
Best of luck to you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for coming. It's not like we meet every day.
Maybe I get the restaurant fortune from Green Island. Nice job. Okay. Yeah. She came with Carol, but Carol.
I'm an ex-mayor.
That's a good question. I just assumed he's going back to
One day in high school, right?
I just want to say that. Youth fair.
Yeah, right.
Ready to feel? He'd like to see that.
Yeah, he's a good nephew. They're going to be his nephew.
started in the minor way.
He does a lot of
boards. So he's coming. Get him away from there's
too bad he doesn't live in Waterloo.
Huh?
Too bad he doesn't live in Waterloo. Thanks very much. Nice seeing you.
His father was a mayor of Waterloo.
We don't have a choice. We never had a choice when we drank together. Now we don't have a choice anymore. Thanks.
Take care of yourself.
Well, I didn't have any choice. Nobody still believes it. My curse.
Yeah, one of the guys. Thanks. Nice to see you again. Let's get together sometime. All right, well, thank you, sir.
Enjoy your life.
Bob, thanks for coming. Thank you. I didn't have my notebook with me.
It wasn't so bad, was it? Yes, it was.
Thank you. Enjoy every minute of it. Thank you. My wife was watching House and Kickstart. Great time of year. Take it one day at a time.
Okay, thank you. Jen, you just requested to move
Do a song. Do a song.
Is this showing black?
Well, it shows in there, but it shows in
Look
color
at the loop growing out of your head, Dan.
when he played it on the VCR at home. Well, we'd have to stop it first. What do you want to do it?
Proceed in order. I'm sure.
Keep your eye on it. Is it changing? Who's in the picture? Can you see your mother and grandpa?
You have it right on the line.
Oh, really? Oops. How about now? Is that good? Thanks.
Oh, okay. That's what Poppa does.
That's the place to
Oh, no.
A couple of them at least. Lou, could you do one more thing for us? We'd like to get a family picture. This is for your album. Okay?
Well, those are...
Well, it's not everybody, but...
Well, yeah.
Where's Don? Oh, Don left.
Don't forget your phone number. Oh, I need the scrapbook back.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Maybe you can get in just a little closer.
I know how to show you. This was only on loan. You can't afford scrapbooks anymore, so we have to take.
Yeah, put a new cover on it for the next guy.
I got it.
He's treated it next time.
Wait and see what's in this bag.
Be able to drink beer in those.
I don't think that's
I didn't have my notes there, so I really... I'll bet. Oh, I remember you told me about Thank you very much, James. Well, I don't have to say goodbye to you because you ain't going far. So there's no reason for me to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Dal, come here. Say something. No, you're too close.
Hello, Lord.
Mommy, hi.
Are you in there? Do you see me? Are you in there? Oh, let me see. You get over here and see if I can see you. Oh, yeah. How beautiful. That's a beautiful girl. Well, that's Lauren. How about that?
Gotta be hysterical. Somebody's gotta ride him over to get his car.
Yeah, I know, but after that.
I'm going right over to get his car. I'm going to go back that way anyway. Let me see. I already mentioned it to Mary O'Brien. Next door to that. Yes.
Well, that's Ellen's weekend. During the week, she has a plane. On weekends, she has Mother, do you want that big box?
I'll put this in my purse. How's a good girl babysitting?
For hopping. Okay, I always worry about.
What?
But I can't do it. She doesn't drive. I have to do it with somebody.
Yeah. There should be a red button. Now what you're seeing right now is what you're taking a picture of.
Mom? Mother? Make sure either you or John takes Robbie's stuff.
Where's John going?
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were still here.
Are you still filming?
Say something.
A new career, Mr. LeBeau.
She said, say something. Something.
Where's that
Something.
shopping there?
And
Did you
something.
throw it out, John?
No, I didn't see it.
Somebody put John's stuff in there. What you doing?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, Lauren, please.
Take John.
Lauren, you can't swing it around too fast. Anything you want help with?
Did you get the broom, the balloon from the
Other
left
than that.
side? It always, see that? Can you see that?
Okay, Lauren, we're going to go, so why don't you give that back to Uncle Del?
Did I just press the button?
Yep.